All right, everybody, today we're going to be talking about holsters, specifically duty holsters, and this one's definitely going to get live in the comments down below. But before that, we're going to talk about the big ones, the one where your girlfriend actually means what she says when she says it's a good size, and that's the battle bottle, the big one, because it's hot out in the Arizona desert and because dehydration sucks. Check out ironinfidel.com if you're looking for some fitness gear or a battle bottle, because it's everything you need, whether you're at the gym, out there in the world doing training, or out having fun with your family doing a hike. Now, duty holsters. Today we're going to talk about several different retention holsters that are meant for law enforcement, military, security, all that good stuff. There's a bunch of them out there. In no way is this a complete list of every holster in the world, but these are the ones that I personally have used, that I have seen and trust after my hundreds of hours teaching at police academies, out there in the world training, here on YouTube, doing my own thing on my other channel. These are the ones that I would feel comfortable with wearing out there in the world. And we're going to start off today with one that some people maybe like or don't like, and that is going to be the Blackhawk holster right here. Now, Blackhawk has had a bunch of different holsters over the years, some of which have not been great, but this one is actually pretty good. It is a level 3 holster. Now, what do I mean by level 3? There's a couple different levels of retention, and sometimes companies label things a little differently. So one level could be friction retention. Another level of retention could be the hood as that pops down. And then the last level of retention for number 3 is some form of locking mechanism in there. So again, companies do that differently. But the Blackhawk holster here that I'm talking about today is a level 3 style holster. So there is a thumb brake, which we'll roll in some B-roll footage of here. So as you go to draw, you break that thumb brake in an inward motion, so towards the pistol. Doesn't matter right-handed or left-handed, it will go towards the pistol. That is not only going to break down the hood, but it's also going to allow you, once you depress it all the way, to pull up and pull that holster out. This one does have a hood cover should you be running an optic-ready pistol, but there are, again, a couple of different levels of retention. So that first part is going to break the hood, but you still cannot draw the pistol. So even if I break the hood here, I still can't draw the pistol until I depress it all the way, release that next mechanism, and draw. So this one is specifically made of some form of injection molded polymer, right? There are other versions that are made out of Kydex from different companies, but there are some good attributes to this holster. One, you've got a multiple different setup here for angles when it comes to your holster. Maybe you want your holster straight up and down, maybe you want it forward, maybe you want it backwards, completely up to you. That's a good thing to have, specifically when you've got one that accepts modern 1 3/4 or 2-inch belts if you're still wearing a 2-inch belt. Having a hood over here is a good thing. Having an optic cover so you don't damage your $500, $600, $700 optic is a good thing. Another good thing is having an open bottom. Now, some people don't like open bottoms because it can leave your light exposed there on the end. I like having an open bottom because should you be rolling around having fun out there, or God forbid rolling around not having fun with a suspect, if something gets up in here, it needs to be free to come out. Some holsters with a closed bottom, if you get something in there, say like a gummy bear, and I know that some of you people laugh, but I literally saw a gummy bear lodged in a holster when someone brought their gun in to be armored. That gives it an area to fall out. Now, you also want a holster to be intuitive. So this design of grabbing right here and being able to draw that holster, your thumb is naturally there anyways. So why not have that mechanism right where your thumb's gonna be, disengage that, draw that, and be able to put it back in there, close the hood, and you're good to go. This holster's got a really good reputation out there. It's very durable. It's easy to use, it's not overly expensive, but when we talk about duty holsters like this, you're going to spend north of 150 bucks, usually closer to 200. So again, different price points for different things. This is a duty-made holster made in the USA, and it's meant for hard use, duty use out there, whether it's law enforcement or the military. The last thing here on this version of the holster is you do have some retention adjustment here at the bottom. So if you want a little bit more kind of passive retention, you can tighten that screw. If you want it a little bit looser in there, you can loosen that screw, but ultimately that's going to provide you a little bit more passive retention. Passive retention is where it's just friction. Okay, there's not an active locking mechanism. So let's go ahead and move on to probably the biggest name out there in the duty holster industry, and that's going to be Safariland. Safariland does have several different designs of holsters. They have more of an injection molded polymer like the Blackhawk, or they have this kind of more traditionally Kydex version, which is actually covered in a wrap here to give it that multi-clam look. Again, this is a different level of retention because the active retention is on the thumb brake right here. Again, we'll show this in some B-roll footage. So as soon as you activate that thumb brake, you're able to draw your pistol. because the mechanism inside here locks up onto the breech right there, right in front of that barrel. So it's got good active retention. There are versions that have a hood as well, giving you a level 3, so you have to push down, pull the hood forward, then pull back on this, then draw the pistol. That's not my favorite design. This one is super fast when it comes to draw, but it's not as high of a level of retention as the Blackhawk or another one that we'll talk about here today, but it's a very well-made holster. So you do have retention adjustment for that passive tension over here on the side, and you're gonna have a little bit more in the front. And when it comes to this holster down here, it's mostly filled. You can remove that plate to allow drainage of whether it's gravel or whatever's in your holster at that point, but you do have some blocks down here in the bottom that keep you from having a fully open bottom. It's completely up to you what you prefer. The good thing about Safariland is they've got a bunch of different QLS fork systems here. So you can effectively take this and put it on a belt like this one right here. You can take that off and you can put this gun on. Say you have different belts or different setups. It's very easy, locks in like that. And they also have different belt slide attachments right here, as you can see. And what those are going to allow you to do is have a low, medium, or kind of high ride, belt ride system on here. And that's going to be up to you. And you can always add a leg strap if you want to any of these rigs. And I prefer to do that because you don't want your holster pulling up and out to the side. That's not going to help you at all. As far as the Safariland goes, as proven and being out there in the industry, it's probably the most proven duty holster out there, from law enforcement to military. It's seen work all over the world. Most police departments will issue these or require a holster like the Safariland here, if not the Safariland specifically. I have used Safariland holsters on duty for 17 plus years. I have yet to have one fail me unless I've just worn it out, because the ALS mechanism will wear over time and it can be replaced. But ultimately, one of the best duty holsters out on the market. Next up, we're going to talk about the Compac CT3. So Compac has been around for a very long time, and I think they're actually the #1 selling competition holster out there. But they have moved into the duty or level 3 retention world. They do have a level 2 as well. This again is a hood design with a locking design down inside there. So even if your hood is down, you still cannot draw the pistol. This one is a little bit different than the others. It is a full Kydex formed holster. It is mostly a closed off bottom. There's a slight gap over here on the side. And it is a thumb brake as well. And we will roll in some B-roll here as well. But again, very natural. As you go to grab the pistol, your thumb falls right in where it should be. And the hood goes down. You have to maintain downward pressure to be able to draw the holster. Now, this one will also have active retention, or passive retention. I mean, here you can have a little bit of a more firm hold for that passive retention, or you can have less firm just by screwing that in and out. This one also allows you the ability to run the QLS fork from Safariland. So should you have a different holster or a different gun or a different belt, as long as that fork system is on there, you can swap this from belt to belt, rig to rig. The differences here are going to be, there is no optic cover on this version right here, so your optic is exposed should you be running an optic. And then inside, the way that this holster locks in is slightly different than some of the others, because the Blackhawk is going to lock more around the light area. The Safariland is going to lock more around the breech area, or completely around the breech area. And then this version right here is going to lock on the off side of the top of the breech of the pistol. So each one kind of has its own little locking mechanism, but they're all going to do the job. Again, US made holster, great company, sister company to HSGI, which is High Speed Gear, which makes the taco pouches. Extremely well known. Again, this holster has been used and proven all over the world, from military to law enforcement, and is one that I would have no problems out there testing and using in the real world. Holsters like this one are extremely fast because of their intuitive design, and ultimately this one is very well made. Now, the Compac CT3 is completely Kydex, but as you can see, it's vacuum formed and extremely well made. You are getting a very solid holster. Again, plan on spending close to the $200 mark when you get all of the options that you want to go with the holster. And last up today is going to be the Alien Gear, and this is a newer one as well. I think it's only been out a few years. And again, it is a level 3 holster. So you have a downward press, which releases the hood and the hood cover to protect your optic. And then you have a secondary latch that you pull back on as you draw that allows you to release that pistol. So even if you get the first part right and you press down, it's still not going to allow the pistol to come out until you have that motion to to push that secondary lever back and draw the holster. So you've got higher level of retention here. You do have some passive retention adjustment down here. It's got a little kind of notch marking on it from low to high, and you can add more passive, just that friction retention in there. And then you have your active retention with 2 different levers right there. They do have different style hood covers for different sized optics. This one is, again, an ejection molded polymer or plastic. There are ways to rig this to different belt drop options if you want to get into the custom world. But ultimately, as you can see on the back side of this belt, and we'll roll in some close footage for you guys, you can run it on different belt heights. You can lock in a bar right here to secure it to that belt very firmly, which helps for the draw. You can obviously get a leg strap on there if you want it. And again, this is a kind of open bottom design, not all the way, but mostly around the light and the muzzle down here. So if any kind of debris or water or whatever you're doing, snow, wherever you're working, it will fall right out of this holster. Again, this one has proven to be durable and reliable. There were some issues up front with the first launch of this holster, but it seems to be once they got their kind of design right that it turned out to be really good. I know several guys out there running these things on duty. These again have been well proven out there and are ones that I would not have an issue running out in the world. Now, when it comes to all of these different holsters, the choice is yours. They have different ways of locking, different ways of retaining the pistol, whether it's passive, active, the motions you use. What I will say is, if you have one and you try to switch to another, put in a lot of time with it. So I ran all of these out here today back to back, and I'm sure you can see hang-ups, and I'm sure the camera guy is going to put in some flubs here and there, and he's shaking his head yes already. But the difference in how these holsters activate, the ride height, the angle that the holster is at, that makes a big difference when you're trying to draw for speed. And if you're like me, I just like to get the gun out of the holster as fast as possible, because at least it's in the fight now, and you can figure everything else out as long as that thing is out of the holster super quick, because you're probably already behind the clock. So speed matters. All of these are going to be very fast once you get used to them. What I will tell you is, if you're trying to choose what holster to go with, don't go out and run them all back to back. Give yourself maybe a range strip to test one, a range strip to test another, because if you try to run them all back to back, your muscle memory is going to get all messed up. You're not going to have a good time, and you might end up with the wrong holster. Well, now it is all up to you to choose the holster that is actually going to work and fit for you, but these are 4 really good options. There are a ton more out there. I'll try to get some more in and do a part 2, maybe a part 3 of this to add more holsters into the fray. Make sure you check out ironinfidel.com. Check out the big one that your girlfriend's really talking about. It's going to get the job done, because dehydration sucks. It's summertime. I will see you guys on the next one. Landed like that. I don't think I've ever seen a mag land literally and stand straight up like that, especially out in the desert doing a drill.